Who are you? And what do you guys want?
I don't think you came here just for a simple visit.
Our identity doesn't matter. Our planet is in grave danger.
If it's Kakarot you're looking for, you're going to be disappointed.
We don't even know where he is.
I always knew I could count on you. Good luck, Gohan.
Now, let's begin!
Hey!
Gentlemen, the time has come once again to discuss things.
Yeah, let's get into this shit.
All right. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Geeky Gentlemen. I am Sid Partu. Joining me today is the one and only, the real Manos.
Hey, folks.
Hey. We are continuing our fan film reviews, and I've been on a kick of animated fan films as of late, so we are doing another animated fan project here, and this is Dragon Ball Deliverance, which is kind of unique among Dragon Ball fan properties I've seen in that it takes GT and runs with it. There's kind of a reputation around GT in the Dragon Ball community, and so most fan projects kind of discount it aside from Super Saiyan 4. And this it goes with it. Like, this is 8 years after GT. And I thought that was kind of just made it a little unique, little interesting, and kind of stuck it in my brain, so I wanted to talk about it.
I like that idea a lot. I'm not a big fan of completely dropping things because, look, when you work on a certain franchise and the continuity's holding tight, you got to just work with the good history, the bad history, and make it work. And I think we're a little bit too into, and not just fans, I'm talking about also like professional official franchises. We get a little too into dumping things that we don't agree with.
Yeah, but I mean, and that's a choice that can work sometimes and not other times. I'm hearing great things about the new Halloween franchise. Alien Covenant and Prometheus, however, I did not hear great things about.
Yeah. I'm not saying don't ever do that, but I feel like we're too into accepting and not accepting material from the past that we'd rather not work with. And I don't know, I just feel like we're too easy to jump the gun on that. I think it's a little more challenging and more fun to kind of work with stuff that doesn't work and see how to make it work. I don't know, I just like the challenge of that.
Okay, well, that being said, I'm assuming it's probably been a couple years, but I'm assuming you've watched GT, right?
I kind of skipped GT. I know the general gist of it.
Okay.
But I don't know. There's some choices that have gone on in the franchise that I'm not the most excited about. So.
Okay. Well, I'm curious then what your take on this fan film is.
I dug it.
Really?
Yeah, I rather liked it.
Okay, I'm a little middle of the road on it.
Okay.
I like the general premise. I'm a little concerned about the direction it's going to go in. Because of what I like about the premise, and so I'll kind of get into that. Most of my problems with this are related to the finesse in writing it and the quality of some of the voice acting.
True. Yeah,
But
we'll get into that.
Yeah, we'll get into that. So, just generally speaking, I am pretty middle of the road on this. This is a real mixed bag for me.
hmm I would say I like it overall. I think I'm maybe on the I'm on the low end of really liking it. So
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, what
If you
about
wanna
it really
create-
worked for you?
Well, first off, I was very impressed by the animation on it.
Mm-hmm.
The I don't expect a lot from fan animation, particularly ones that go on in time quite a bit. Because I'm very used to seeing fan animations that are like, 30 seconds to 3 minutes at the most. So when I noticed this one was at 17 minutes, it was attempting an actual episode, much like the other one we did, which I enjoyed a lot. But the animation, isn't what you would put on Cartoon Network. It's almost like a what do you call it? Like a
Manga dub, yeah.
Oh, I was gonna say. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say motion comic.
Oh, yeah.
Which I still really enjoyed it, but I wouldn't pitch that as it is as a series. This is almost pretty much there. The animation is, of course, it's fan budget, so I don't know how much money and time they had dedicated to it. They couldn't have had too much, and it almost looks like something I've grown up with, because I've watched tons of TV animation from that have come from the 60s all the way up to the present, and I've seen the tricks to chop down on budget, and I saw them kind of participated here and this, and I thought they were done rather well. For a fan budget, which I'm not sure how many people worked on this. I'm guessing not many. This almost looks like something that could have aired on TV in the 80s. Definitely kind of, I would put this alongside of a lot of Filmation,
Yeah.
which was a legit studio with lots of money, and lots of people working on it. I'd say this is that good.
Yeah, it's interesting when we talk about fan animation, because there are, of course, different methods of animating, and what most Americans would think of anime, a lot of the techniques there are used by compositing. So they'll have just... you can get some really interesting differences in quality there, because you can just animate the one character on a blank background, and you can animate the background, and then they'll just composite and overlay those. And so you'll get a level of detail that you don't typically see in Western animation, because Western animation pretty much animates the whole thing, every single frame. And so it can look really cheap when Western animation does it, like the old Scooby-Doo with the rotating background kind of thing. Whereas anime,
that's a trick, yeah.
Yeah, anime uses it really, really well, and so to see that done here, obviously with computer animation as opposed to hand drawn, it was just really, really impressive the way that it all did come together. And it's funny because Dragon Ball, the classic Dragon Ball Z joke. How many DBZ characters does it take to change a light bulb?
How many?
One, but it'll take 3 episodes. The classic thing with Dragon Ball Z is they got to spend all this time talking before they can actually fight. So this, I was impressed that this manages to take that and make it work, because they just spend a lot of time talking, and you get some really dynamic poses and stuff. And there's very little fighting, but it makes the fights pop. It is really cool in that regard.
And yeah, it's like what I said about cutting corners. Okay, well, we can't do too much. Let's have them have it out conversation wise, and cut to just the eyes when talking, so we can avoid lip flaps on this. I think every move that they make, every frame, I I think wasn't wasted. I think they put a lot of thought into how this looked from start to finish.
Yeah, I agree. Now, that's not to say that, like, the animation is perfect. I think some of the character designs are a bit ugly, and I don't think it's meant to be intentional. Some of the character designs just look really off to me. So this is where I'm on a mixed bag on it. Like, I like a lot of the techniques, but I don't really like... But I'm more... negative on some of the final results and some of just the stylistic choices. Like Pan and Bra are like super sexualized. Like, I don't know if you caught it, but there's a shot where you see Bra from the backside and she's in jeans, but like the jeans basically look like they're painted on because it's just straight ass cracks. And
I know. I noticed that, yes.
Yeah. So, like, choices like that, I'm like, and then there's just moments where some of the facial structures just look really ugly to me. So I was a little more hesitant on stuff like that.
Yeah.
As far as the animation and design went.
If I had any complaints about the animation, that would be it, actually, is the designs looked a little bit too detailed. Over-sexualizing is a good point. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Because, I don't know, it's not like Toriyama and company were afraid of sexualizing their female characters.
No, they were not. Never, ever.
Yeah, but at the same time, when they did it, it was more like tongue-in-cheek, kind of like acknowledging of it. Like Roshi having the boys dress up in lingerie so he could convince Launch to dress in lingerie, like that kind of thing. This is it's just on screen like that, and there's really no reason besides TNA, and so stuff like that kind of come on, is the reaction I tend to have to it. I want to talk about the plot though, because that is the thing I like the most about it. But I'm going to put an asterisk on that and say potentially. Because one of the things in Dragon Ball and GT that it's just exhausting is the fact that it always has to be Goku. It's always Goku who comes in and saves the day at the end. The one exception to that is the Cell Saga when Gohan's able to save the day, but it's because of Goku's plan, right? So just the premise here of the Z Fighters have to deal with the situation and there's no Goku, I am like, therefore, that's exciting to me. Like I'm really invested in, oh man, so Gohan's gonna have to step up and really take care of this. And then you get the end and he's like, dead? Question mark? And I'm like, shit, okay, I'm invested in that. And like Vegeta's always way too cocky and he's going off all Super Saiyan 3 to go fight Broly or some shit. And I'm like, okay, he's probably not going to make it. Is it going to actually have to be Trunks and Goten fusing? Because that could be cool. Or is Bra or Pan going to come in and save the day? Any of those possibilities excite me. Or fucking Oob's there, which is cool. Any of those excite me. I'm, of course, worried that Goku's just going to...
well.
No, it's Bra.
Yeah, Bra.
Yeah, that really excites me. But then I'm just kind of worried that they'll all be taken out and it'll just be Goku again, and I'll be like, ah.
I don't feel like they're heading that direction. This is something I brought up when we first started talking about this one and the previous one we watched, the Raditz one. Both of these take on positions that I really wish the real series had, because I really like the idea of Raditz becoming part of the team. Mm-hmm. And even having a kid and, having a girl, which kind of like shakes, the dimensions up. That was really cool. This one's really cool because I am probably one of many fans who feel like Gohan was completely ripped off as a character, where, the series, especially, of course, during Z, feels like it's building Gohan as this hero, this character, and it completely drops him. Yeah. And to the point of a joke. And this picks that up, where it kind of restarts his hero's journey again, and I love that. And I have this feeling, just from from what I got in this episode, I don't think they're heading towards Goku taking over again. I feel like, whatever journey we got, we're going to be following mostly Gohan in this. I would hope that Pan has more of a story in this too.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, I'm excited at the promise that this one delivers.
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about too. The prospect of just the Z Fighters dealing with a threat sans Goku. That's just really cool to me, because I mean, everyone complains about like the Garlic Jr. saga in Dragon Ball Z, but I actually really like it because there's no Goku for it. I really appreciate that about it.
Yes.
It's not like he comes in at the end; he's not there. So that's really cool.
And it directly picks up from the Dead Zone movie. I like that saga, although maybe there was a little bit too much running from
Ghosts of Guardians Past.
Yeah. It's like okay, I know you have to pad this out.
Yeah, that's when the old fast forward button comes in. But anyway, so yeah, like the premise of this, I really like. The execution of the plot is a little shaky, but I'm totally willing to forgive it. Where I think the writing starts to break apart for me here is in the dialogue, specifically in the dialogue. Like, so the translation of Dragon Ball and Dragon Ball Z and stuff really did end up falling back a lot on a lot of just cliches and stuff. The translators definitely fell back on some cliches when going into what these characters were saying during the fights and whatnot. But a lot of the time, Toriyama's just natural skill of association and character dynamics would kind of make up for that.
Yeah.
This is kind of like seeing what the translators would have done if they didn't have that, I feel. Because a lot of the dialogue in here is just, I've heard it a million times before, and it's just not compelling dialogue, and it actively makes the piece less interesting to consume. And so I'll praise it on the one hand for being smart about its limitations and framing so much through dialogue, but I also gotta give it a little bit of flack for not writing really good dialogue to fill there,
That's fair.
The thing about dialogue that I feel a lot of people don't realize is writing dialogue is not just having characters explain the situation. You can do plot work through dialogue. You can do character work through dialogue. I bring it up all the time because it is, to this day, one of the sharpest written books I've ever read is Brian Azzarello's Wonder Woman. I know you and I, of course, have our disagreements about it, but the dialogue in that book was sharp as a knife. And it's something I just always encourage people. Really think about your dialogue. The use of double entendres, the use of having characters say things that have meanings between multiple characters that have relevance to the events that are going on, even if the character isn't aware of it. Stuff like that is just really, really compelling and pulls your interest and holds your attention a lot more than cliches. And so, writing class time, the rule on cliches is if you think you've heard it before, you probably have, so don't use it. Like, even if you don't write great dialogue, if you can avoid cliches in your dialogue, it still will be better. Is a really good piece of advice I can give people. Just throw that out there.
Yeah. I agree. I think probably the best dialogue may have been between Gohan and Goku.
That scene was really good. Not gonna lie.
A lot of that they came off as more like real people. That may have been that may have been trying to write kind of standard DBZ type of dialogue, which can get a little cliche-ish and bro heavy and epic heavy. But my advice, for future installments is to try and avoid that a little bit and try and figure out who these people are. Besides, these gods that hate each other.
Yeah.
Because if I had any complaints about like the show proper, is that the stuff I love most from DBZ is the character stuff and the family stuff, and it's kind of funny to watch these characters grow from like kids to like adults, and even having grandkids and stuff like that, and that's kind of a fascinating thing to watch. Because I don't really have much to compare that to in a lot of the fiction I watch and listen to and read. So yeah, have fun with that. Kind of my advice would be definitely investigate these characters and how you see them, and are there things that you've always wanted to hear them say to each other that maybe the writers in the past have kind of zoned out on. Kind of just be honest with yourself, and be honest with the characters as best as you can.
Yeah, I agree. So there's just a lot of things to consider there and think about stuff, but I also want to talk plot wise of something I really liked, which is to bring Namekians back as a villain.
Yes.
That's something we got with the Lord Slug movie, which is not very good, but it's one of the more okay Dragon Ball Z movies. But just
has the best soundtrack.
Fair enough. But just the ideas behind Namekians I find really interesting, and how they are fairly unique in the Dragon Ball universe, because they kind of have the whole fusion thing going on before fusions were a thing in Dragon Ball. So that's neat. And I don't know, just conceptually to me, when you look at how Piccolo got significantly stronger in the series, he didn't get the Super Saiyan transformation. He would fuse with another Namekian. First he fused with Nail, and he got super powerful enough to take on Frieza in his second form. And then he fused with Kami, and he was able to take on first form Cell. And so that's really interesting. And so when you see how Namekians work, that they reproduce asexually and stuff, you realize, oh, so conceptually there was just one Namekian, and it was a god of power. So conceptually Namekians could fuse together to form, that would be a super Namekian. I'm I really like that idea. And the idea that it's a band practice and stuff, and so you'd have this kind of rogue cult of super fused Namekians. I really like that. That's a really cool plot idea, and I appreciate that they didn't resurrect Frieza's long lost brother or anything. And obviously Broly's in this, but he's not the main threat that we're dealing with in this episode. So I appreciated doing something in Dragon Ball that I feel kind of got abandoned and probably shouldn't have been, because it's definitely interesting.
Well, there's so many different things in the universe that the show always seems to ignore or just forget about once they move on.
Well, that's Toriyama's stream of consciousness writing for you.
Yeah. So
he forgot he made Super Saiyan 2. Come the fuck on.
That's one of the things that I think it's very helpful with fan films like this. I'm so tired of fan films constantly bringing up the Joker when they do Batman films. This is a big universe. Play with those things. Same thing with this. I'm really grateful this isn't a Frieza storyline, and I'm very grateful this looks like it's going to be concentrating on Gohan and some of the other characters. So yeah, I'm very happy with the story that it looks like they're setting up.
Yeah, I mean, it is one episode, so it's hard to determine. That kind of becomes a good transition to a point I've been making about a lot of these animated fan films as we've talked about them. Little continuity through episodes for the weekly listeners.
Yes.
So this is another case of where I can definitely understand the reason to go for a pilot, to go for the beginning of a series and try to, because you've got a story you want to tell, it's a longer form story and you want to be able to tell it in a long form. It makes sense, but in animation, I really feel like it's a mistake to go for that. And so you saw the opening credits and stuff, and you saw this guy was asking people to support him on Patreon to help him out.
Yeah.
Okay, so I did a little research because I was genuinely curious. Now this has 2 million views, which is super successful for a fan project, I think.
Yeah, and it was released, last month?
Yeah. That's
very
really
good.
Yeah, really, really good.
Very impressive.
So I clicked on his Patreon, because what he says is he doesn't want to work and animate full-time. He wants to be able to support himself on animation through Patreon, which the legality of that, I will never understand how that's allowed to happen, but good for him if he can make it happen. Mm-hmm. So I went to his Patreon. 2 million views. He's making $19 a month on Patreon right now. And like I'm not trying to shit on the guy or anything. I hope he's able to get more. I hope more people really like this and want to support him on Patreon, and I hope he gets to do this dream project of his. That'd be great. I feel like the choice to turn it into a series, as much as I might like the idea behind it as a series, I do feel it's a mistake with something as time consuming as animation to do something that is series dependent. Because if he can't make another episode, if he can't devote the time to make another installment, then this is where it ends. And that's just fundamentally disappointing.
Do you know how long the series is supposed to be? Did he map out anything?
I have no idea how long it's supposed to be. Here's the little note that he left in the, or there's something he left in the description that really, like, kind of blew me away. And he said, my dream project for the last 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I'm sure he wasn't working on this every day for 8 years. This probably is not a thief in the cobbler situation. But I have a good feeling that he was probably doing something for this throughout that 8-year span, would be my bet. And so just, I know, I'm not doubting that he wants to do some cool stuff with this. I'm not doubting that he's devoted to it. I'm just saying I feel it is fundamentally a mistake to do something in series format as opposed to standalone when it comes to animated fan project.
It does matter how long he's planning to do this. Like, if he's planning to do like an 80 episode series, I would advise against that. If it's going to be a shorter miniseries, it would be cool. I have no idea. I'm just pulling this out of my ass. But it would be cool if he did like a 5-episode miniseries. Like the 80s cartoons? Mm-hmm. When they would premiere a show or have some kind of special event. He-Man meets She-Ra, or, the Transformers season after the movie, and, shit like that. It'd be a 5-episode miniseries that would, be aired all week. And it'd be exciting, it'd be cool, and you'd love it. It'd be cool if it kind of had that format, like this is a 5-episode miniseries. Mm-hmm. Of course, if he's able to strike, some luck with Patreon, he could probably afford to do it. But it'd be a cool model to after this is done, I might suggest, if he's listening, whenever he's planning to be done, to hopefully use the Dragon Ball Z fan film, to kind of grow his own personal brand and try and develop some fans. So, maybe his next project can be, original. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he can actually make a little bit more direct money on it. Maybe he can, build a Patreon up on the Dragon Ball Z series or miniseries, however he wants to do it. And then use that to finance personal works, maybe the next one, make your own original creation. At least that's the way I think I would do it, because Dragon Ball Z would definitely get a lot of hits and a lot of information, and it would be a good way to build fans. And then afterwards you go, okay, well here's an original creation of mine, and they go, well, I dug your Dragon Ball Z thing, so let me check this out. So that would be definitely a way to kind of build his brand.
Yeah, I agree. That would be great. And to all these fan film creators, like, I never get the chance to really say this. Even the ones I don't like, even the ones that are dicks to us when we do a negative review, I only want people to succeed. Really, I don't like the fan films are a labor of love, or they're trying to prove something and get attention to filmmakers and such. I always want these people to succeed. I'm just trying to focus this as someone online, because you think about it, I made this Dragon Ball Z fan project, but I could only do one episode, and so it was kind of left on a cliffhanger. Well, then people, and if you could never deliver the other side of that, then people are less likely to follow you because you never delivered the other thing, So it's a cascading thing, and it's just something to consider. And
it's very easy to get excited when you're a fan creating something. It's similar to your eyes are bigger than your stomach, and in this kind of case, it would be your brain is bigger than your means or something like that. Your ability to create a thing, which goes right into I've kind of made this comparison before to like an indie creator. When I create my comic, I am terrified my next issue is going to be my last issue. Because I don't have all the means in the world. I'm scraping everything together, to put forth in an issue, and then I kind of put everything I have, and then hope for the best. Like hope it's successful enough to move on and do a new one. And I own that character, and now people who do fan films and fan animation and all that, they're working with properties that don't belong to them. So I mean, my heart goes out to them, because they're putting a lot of work into what hopefully could bring intention, for future projects. But yeah, they're risking a lot for what might turn out to be little profit, a little benefit. So good Lord, I mean, my heart's always with these people, and I always wish them luck, even when I don't particularly care for some of the fan films we've seen over the years. Over the years that we've been doing this.
All right, so I want to move on and talk about one other thing in this, and that was the voice acting. It is a bit of a range of stuff as far as the voice acting goes. I do think that, and I always feel bad for calling one person out like this. Not everyone is great, but the guy doing the Namekian villain is actively bad. I can tell that he's trying to cover an accent, not only within the tone of his voice, which honestly it could work, given that we're dealing with an alien character that could add a dimension to the voice, but in the delivery of the lines. Because I honestly don't believe some of the lines that he delivers were written that way. Just certain... I should have rewatched a bit of it again to get a specific example. But there are certain times when he just says literally the wrong word. And the sentence doesn't work with that word in it. So if you just write it down, you'd realize it looks wrong. And so I'm not sure if English is a second language to this voice actor or what's going on, but I've got to be honest, it's actively distracting. It's actively taking away from the piece, which you just don't want.
Yeah, I had mixed feelings about him specifically. I like the accent a lot, and I actually like the sound of his voice. And I'm so used to Dragon Ball Z characters all having the same kind of tone, particularly obviously the U.S. dubs. They all sound like they come from the same Midwestern state, and so it was kind of refreshing to hear like a thick accent on the character, especially the way he was cloaked and all that thing. But you're right; it does feel like some of his line delivery is he's maybe doing it phonetically, or at least at the very least just reading. Maybe after maybe a couple of read throughs.
Yeah, there was that, and I noticed words that he just. Oh, I know one. I noticed words that he just clearly didn't know how to say that word. Infamous. There's the word infamous is one of his lines, and I'm pretty sure he pronounced it as infamous, and it's just wrong. And it's not a like harp on his accent or anything. It's just if you can't deliver the line, it's a problem.
Was there anybody like credited as I don't remember looking at the credits. Was there anybody maybe in charge of like voice acting, voice directing?
Probably not. It was probably all just under the director of the project itself.
I would probably recommend getting somebody, maybe delegate somebody to kind of monitor that. Like a voice director could be very helpful in that regard to like avoid like stiffer line readings.
There's that, and a good method I've seen people use in voice acting over the internet and stuff is to do it in a Skype call where you just, like a director, you just sit there on the other end of the sound booth essentially and go and listen, and you just don't, your actor still records everything, but you just don't talk, and you just listen to them do their line deliveries and go, oh no, I'm sorry, you're like it'll save problems like that, like, oh, you said the wrong word there. Yeah. It'll also save tone and the need for pickups and retakes.
Maybe a table read over Skype.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. It's just a really good it's a really good method. It's just a really internet voice acting is kind of its own community at this point, and it's a unique challenge.
Maybe I should do that. Hey, if you need anybody to do acting and line reads, talk to me.
Thank you,
the
Manos.
Real Manos. I act good.
Yeah, I can tell. All right.
Yeah, just made myself $1 million.
There we go. So yeah, just, I don't know, things like that. And I always feel bad calling out one person, and usually when it comes to acting in fan films, I say you get who you can get, and you just hope they're good enough. But sometimes there are occasions where I'm like, that person just is not on the caliber as everything else that's going on right here.
Yeah, there were a couple of voice actors that felt like they were reading maybe for the second time, and then there were a couple that were like nailing it.
Mm-hmm. Like I liked Vegeta's voice actor. I really liked Oob's voice actor, even though he didn't get a ton of lines. It was just cool.
Yeah.
All right. So I got through everything I wanted to make sure we brought up, besides just saying that the scene where Gohan turns into the Uzaru and, like, screams right at the camera was really fucking cool and well animated, and I liked it a lot. Did you have anything else you wanted to make sure we talked about?
No, I think we kind of covered a lot in depth, I thought. I dug it.
Okay, let's go ahead and go on to ratings then. Why don't you go first, Manos?
Well, yes, I thought this was very, very impressive. I wish you all the luck in the world. I like the story tone that it looks like we're going to be taking. So I think I would probably give, we already discussed my my pros and cons on it. I definitely like, I'd say probably 4 out of 5 Super Namekians.
Okay. For me, I'm going to go a bit lower than that because I do feel there are enough issues just in a number of different spots. It's not any one thing. I really do feel like this is a mixed bag, but overall I am slightly more positive on it. So I'm going to give it a 3 out of 5 Golden Uzarus because I like the Golden Uzaru. Alrighty. Manos, what are we going to be talking about next time?
Well, I apologize because we've been trying to stick away from Batman or the Batman universe as best as possible. But I was digging around, and this one popped up, and I could not resist it. There is a fan film that was just posted like this past week. It's called Rise of the Catwoman, Chapter 1, a DC Comics fan film.
Oh, cool. All right. Sounds like a good time. Everyone, thank you very much for watching. Until next time, I'm the Philosopher.
And I'm the Realist.
And we are your geeky gentlemen. And we will be discussing things.